very clear. It wasn't directly into your thinking, you know. There's an emphasis on that inside the share. So those are about that's happening. If you're thinking like, if you're writing that to me, obviously you're the person that needs it. You get it. I guarantee no one better than us will probably put it in these books. Someone may get out of this like if you don't get it from there, then
Back to the Parnas Hashanah, sponsoring the Shiurim, Leilu Nishmas of Gedali ben Reb Shimon, Hashem Shabbat Liyah, functionally Simcha Nachas and Bracha. We're on page Kuf Samach Beis, Bayam Darkecha. Darkei Kinyan HaSimcha. The means of acquiring the midah of Simcha. Darkei Kinyan HaSimcha. Kolacha Yochel Hikanes the Simcha B'Hashem Yisborach. Va'afil kasha adam izman kaishi. Every person is able to enter into the Simcha of Hashem, even at a time of difficulty. Hu yochel v'tzarech leikanes lazeh u'samech es atzmo. He's able to and he must do this to be misamech himself. V'derech la'gil simcha. And there's only one way that a person can achieve this midah of simcha. It's really only with the koach of the Hisayrus of the neshama, an awakening of the neshama, gilui ha-neshama, to come into contact with that part of himself, with that deeper part of himself. Because on the outside, on the surface, there are always reasons why not to be b'simcha. There are always reasons why. There are personal reasons in one's life, the conditions of one's life, with family, with parnasa, and so on. And even if everything's going well there are things that are going wrong in the world, and Mashiach isn't here. There are always reasons not to be b'simcha, because we're living in a world of imperfection and of hestapanim and so on, personally and b'chlal. So there's always on the outside of things. There are always explanations of why I am not happy. There are always reasons why I am not happy. There are always ways for me to explain my misery and unhappiness. Therefore, you'll find people that their conditions of their lives appear to be ideal. Things are good, and yet they're unhappy, because there's really only one way to acquire simcha, a simcha that doesn't depend upon whether somebody complimented you, whether somebody said good Shabbos to you, if somebody took your spot, and that's when a person's simcha comes from the neshama. Because atzvus is when the klipa, that which is external, which is outside, becomes stronger and more forceful in your life. That by the chizik hakoach haruchni shabadam hu nichnas l'simcha, and the only way to enter the simcha is by breaking through that klipa, the klipa that surrounds, that shell, that wall, that is the external part of who you are, and to break through that, to go to the part that's inside of the klipa. That's to break through that. Then you're able to enter the simcha. Lachein, therefore, miyad kasher hanefesh habahamis nechneses la'atzvus. Therefore, as soon as you feel that the nefesh bahamis, that the animal soul, is taking you to a place of sadness, of atzvus, take it from miyad. You must immediately liikanes b'koach l'simcha. Force yourself into that place of simcha. Liikanes b'koach l'simcha. Not to wait until you're in a better mood, or to wait for somebody to cheer you up. But liikanes b'koach l'simcha. This, of course, is one of the biggest yesodis of all Chassidus and Torah Baal Shem. Liikanes b'koach l'simcha. And there are many ways to do that. There are tools that we have to break through the klipa, to push ourselves into simcha, even though you don't feel happy. You're not, or there's some particular reason that you're unhappy. And the tools that Hashem gave us is Esek HaTorah Kedosha, by learning Torah, but by learning Torah in a way of simcha. It was saying the words out loud, going to the sugi or whatever it is that you're learning, going deeply, with a niggin, I'll mention in a second. To learn the Torah also, that the way that you learn the Torah is in a way of simcha, of excitement. Again, even though you're not feeling it right now, you learn the Torah out loud. You don't sit and just read something. You learn Torah. If you have a charusa, you engage the charusa. You fight, you argue with the charusa. But to learn the Torah should be learned b'koach. Eisek Torah Kedosha. Not like you're reading a newspaper, Khalil, or something. But to learn the Torah b'koach. All the zmiris v'tishbachas v'shirim l'Hashem Yisbach. Singing, so on Hashem Yisbach. Singing songs of Kedusha. We'll talk about that in a minute. V'zbaradus v'sichel l'kal chai. Of course, the powerful weapon of his baradus, to go to speak to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And you get to talk to him about what is it that's worrying you, what is it that's bothering you. Ki be'etzem ha'esek b'ruchnius. The very fact that you occupy yourself with ruchnius. Hadam yotzim hatzvus. Because atzvus, sadness, even though you might think it's some deep, profound sadness over the state of the world and what's going on in Am Yisrael and Eretz Yisrael, and you have this deep sadness, and you think of yourself as being some sad philosopher, like there's a statue like that of some, pigeons are sitting all over him and making all over him. Yes, forgive me, of this sad philosopher sitting around and brooding over things. So you think of yourself as being a very, very deep thinker, and that's all of that is atzvus, and atzvus is gashmis. Atzvus is the klipa. It might appear to be something which is very spiritual, and it might even, the Yetzer Hara has a way of enclothing it in something which seems to be connected to your avodas Hashem. So you're sad over your averos. You're sad over chas v'shalom, something with a kid like this or with this one like that, and you're sad. All of that is gashmis. All of that is not the etzem of who you are. All of that is something which is shallow and superficial. It's shallow. Even though you might think that it's something which is very deep. Because that's why be'etzem esek haruchnius, that's why as soon as you begin to work on something in ruchnius, with energy, something which is really ruchnius, like limud Torah, or Tehillim, or whatever it might be, nigunim of Kedusha, so then you're able to bring yourself to a place of simcha. That doesn't mean that you don't take care of the problems. It doesn't mean that you're oblivious to reality. It means that there's a part of you that goes deeper than that. There's a part of you that is inside. I mentioned to you many times, I was just talking to a tzibur the other day that a terrible loss of one of their chaverim, father that suddenly died. And I mentioned the story that I've told many times that I actually heard from one of the chaver, from one of the talmidim. I didn't see it in the sefer, I heard from one of the talmidim. A story about the Chazon Ish that I've told you. The Chazon Ish was, especially the last years of his life, he was spending hours and hours of the day helping people. People came to him, all different kinds of people came to him with their tzaros. And he heard terrible things. He was hearing terrible things all day. People didn't go to him to tell him about their simchas. He heard terrible things. And one day it was particularly terrible, and finally everything was finished. The door was locked, and the Gabbai put everything in order, and the Chazon Ish sits down with the Gemara and he starts to learn. And he's learning. B'simcha, he's learning. So the Gabbai was a little bit taken aback by that. It was hard for him to understand how, especially the last person, the people that were just there, they were telling terrible sorrows that they had. And it seemed to the Gabbai, like the Chazon Ish, like it seemed to them it seemed to him that the Chazon Ish was, he wasn't affected by it. He just, the second that people were done and they left, he went back to learning. So the Chazon Ish picked up on this, and the Chazon Ish said to him, you think that I'm not affected by all the things I've heard, what people go through? He said, it hurts me very, very deeply. It reaches a very deep part of me. But I have a deeper part of me, and that's where I'm going right now. There's a deeper part of me where I'm going to right now. That's an amazing story. Because that's the key. Saying, of course it affects me deeply. I care about all of these things. But I always have a place that I can go to that's deeper than all of those places. And if you don't have that place inside of you, if your entire life is on the outer regions, then when something happens, chas v'shalom, or you hear something, so then how could I be happy after hearing this? How is it possible to be happy? And the Gabbai watching this, there's a stira between the two things. Tzaddik is listening to the tzaras. He seems to be empathizing with all these people and talking to them. And then a minute later, he's like giggling over a beautiful Gemara. So how does that stem? So to the person on the outside, that seems to be a stira. But to the person, the one who lives on the inside, that's not a stira. There are different layers of a person. And atzvus is an outer klipa. Simcha is ois v'chedva b'mkamos. The neshama is b'simcha. The neshama is the chelik elokam yimal, and the neshama is b'simcha. So one has to find ways of reaching the neshama, of speaking to the neshama. When the neshama hears her language, when the neshama is engaged, when you talk to the neshama in the language that she understands, which is Torah, Tefillah, when you speak to the neshama in her language, so then you're entering into that world of Oyiz v'chedva b'mkama, that there's joy in the presence of Hashem. Most of the world, the vast majority of the world, will try, like with little children, we try to distract them when they're upset. I spoke about it a few weeks ago. So the kid's having some kind of some tantrum, and the kid's crying because he can't, he lost his little car or something. So what do? You're trying to talk to the kid. The kid, so you can't stop him. So you take something out, you take out something ices from the freezer. And all of a sudden. So that's pretty inexpensive, some ices. Adults have to go on $40,000 vacations. And there are those who try to just numb themselves with drugs or with drinking or excessive socializing, crazy socializing, constantly surrounding oneself with clowns that will keep your mind off of your tzaras. Just to have people that they call these friendships, they're friendships, socializing. It's going to the circus, living in a circus, where you constantly surround yourself with other sad people who put on smiley faces like the clowns used to in the circus, and everybody sits around the Shabbos table till 5 PM, joking and carrying on and laughing and eating and drinking. And everybody's having a great time. That's not simcha. That's just distraction. It's like giving the ices to the kid, and then when the party is over, then the clown takes off the makeup, and then that's the matzah. So most of the world is just trying to distract themselves by going to the circus or inviting the circus in. But if that person sits by himself, So all of entertainment was created for that. What's entertainment about? All of entertainment, all movies and all entertainment is to try to distract you, to entertain you, and that is simply the saddest form of entertainment, which we enjoy the most, is comedy. The whole point of comedy is just giving ices. So you have some comedian who says funny things, or you watch some funny show, and the person thinks that because he's laughing, he said, "That's it. Now I'm besimcha." Of course, that's not simcha. It's stop. The only way that a person can really, really, really be besimcha is the first sentence of what we just read. L'simcha b'Hashem yisbarach. Kol echad yochel hikanas l'simcha b'Hashem yisbarach. Because that's the only true simcha. Because simcha b'Hashem yisbarach. And also, you could try to be mesamech yourself with your family, and that's great. You love your wife, you love your kids, your grandchildren. That's beautiful. If you're able to understand and see that as itself being one of the means of entering into the world of Hashem Yisbarach and the neshama, then on some level it can bring to a real and deep simcha. But if it's just another way of entertainment, family is another form of your entertainment, so then if the kid doesn't behave, or if the kids leave, or if your wife is annoyed with you or something, so then it's ois simcha. No more simcha. The simcha is gone. So be'etzem ha'esek ruchnius. But ruchnius is be'etzem simcha. Ruchnius is something that doesn't depend upon this one being here or this one leaving. It doesn't depend upon whether the show is on or the show is off. I have the ISIS, I don't have the ISIS. It doesn't depend on that. It's the be'etzem ha'esek ruchnius. Chadam yoytze me'atzvus. That's the ticket out of atzvus. Because ruchnius is what the Chazon Ish was saying. There's still a deeper place yet than this. Something deeper than this. It's the etzem of the person. He says, Koach otzum lo'ira simcha, or koach ha'machshava. Of course, the part of us that's the ikar, his galus of the neshama, is our minds, is the mind. Therefore, a person's most effective way of coming to simcha is through thinking, through a certain type of thinking. Again, when a person is thinking about, is mizboinen in the Metzias of Hashem, v'yichudu v'tuvo, Hashem's Metzias, His oneness, His kindness, and so on. Simcha b'elokus. When a person is mizboinen, a person thinks deeply and concentrates on that, then he's entering into he's with that koach of machshava, which is the strongest, his galus of the neshama. He's entering into a place of elokus, of simcha. That's simcha b'etzem. That's simcha b'etzem. That's what I mentioned to you a few weeks ago. I think that that Mendel Fortefas, the Chabad Mashpia, when he was in the labor camp in Russia, Siberia. He was there for years. He was there, so he was with all of these goyim, the Russian prisoners who the communists threw in there, and he told a lot of interesting stories about his experiences over there, the people that he met. And he said that they're all sitting around in their bunk one day, and one of the Russians says, "Mendel, how come you're always happy? What are you always happy? Like, what are you happy about? So remember, Fortify says, why are you always sad? Why are you always sad? You're always depressed. So this one says, what do you mean? I used to be a general, and now look at me. This one's I used to be a millionaire. Look at me. I used to be a doctor. So why are you happy? So remember, Fortify said, I also used to be wealthy, and I'm not. I don't have anything now. And I used to with my family. I don't have my family now, but I used to be a chassid, and I'm still a chassid. That's what he said. I used to be a chassid. I'm still a chassid. And nobody could take it away from me. So he was saying that's why I'm Batsham. You guys, you always depended upon your positions in life, the general, your wealth, status, and so on. You always depended upon other things to be besimcha, to be happy. Now that you don't have those things, so how could you be happy? My happiness never depended upon my wealth or my status. My happiness depended upon the etzem of who I am, which is I'm a chassid, I'm a yid, I'm a Jew. And that's something that no one can take from me. The communists can't take from me. The Nazis can't take from me. No one can take it away from me. That's the only thing that could be, because that's the etzem of, if that's when you come into that place of the etzem of who you are. So then the simcha is something which is not affected by your environment. Otherwise, you can get up and if it's drizzling outside, you're all angry and all upset. I had this machshava because we were going to be talking about that, and I just pulled up a couple of minutes ago, and there's some guy that parked his car with I hope it's on the view, with the motor running and just sitting over there in the middle of the driveway. It's still there with the lights on, which makes it much harder for me to get out because whatever. And I was, when I pulled in, I was annoyed. I was saying, oh, that's great. I'm going to go talk to the Cheva now about this simcha belukus, and I'm thinking how could I get back at this guy? I worked on it. I was okay. A second, but it's so easy to just to slip into that. And when you start to think a little bit, that's what he's saying. Simcha b'lukus. Ubakach shani chelek elokam imal. That I'm a chelek elokam imal. B'no ahuvu shel Hashem yisbarach. The beloved child of Hashem. B'no ahuvu shel Hashem yisbarach. That's who I am. B'no ahuvu, the beloved child of Hashem. She'ohev oisi l'lo gvul. Who loves me l'lo gvul. Without any limitations, without any conditions. Uvo potech libi, and my heart trusts in Him. And in footnote, Reis Samach Vav, Gam Yizbainim b'chol ha'toivus she'osei imo Hashem yisbarach kol yom. And to think deeply about all the toivus that you have in your life that Hashem has done for you, and not just how you have a lot of good things, but everything. Think about how Hashem is giving that to me because because He loves me. Like I once mentioned to you, you have the Misha Anu. We're going to be saying in Slichas, Misha Anu Avinu V'Arim Yanenu, Misha Anu Yitzchak V'Arim Misha Hu Yanenu. And I saw in the Sefer that there was from Rashiv in Eretz Yisrael that he had he made a long extra list of Misha Anus. He said, Misha Anna, who, the one who answered me by giving me the wife that I have, and Misha Anna, and you mentioned things in your life. Hashem, who answered me, not just to say, Misha Anna, Avinu, Harariya, Misha Anna, Yitzhak, Benosh, Nakarak, Nozecha, Misha Anna, Yaakov, Beis El. So then you're saying over history, which is nice, to go over Hashem, who answered Avinu by the Akedah, or whatever, by Harariya, Hu Yanein. He should answer us now also. Say your own Misha'anas. It doesn't have to have the Beslichas. Misha'ana Osi. The one who answered me. And you say your name. Misha'ana Osi Chai Moshe ben Pel. With this child. Hu Yanein, he should answer me. My tefillas now that I'm davening. And you add to the list of Misha'anas. And think about that and daven about that. But the one who answered me and how Hashem has answered us, even things that we didn't know how to ask for, that Hashem has given us so much in our lives. But to say Misha'ana Hu Yanein, the one who has answered me, because a person always thinks that Hashem never hasn't answered my tefillas. Look at your life and you see. Even the things that you didn't know that you were davening for, that your neshama was davening for. Misha'ana. Hashem has answered. And to think about that, to say. That's what he's saying, mizbaining, not just, that's why before coming into Shabbos, when we say Haidu, we end with the words, V'yizbainenu chazdei Hashem. Right? In the Haidu that we say, in the capital Tillim that we say, like before Mincha, by Kabbalah Shabbos, so V'yizbainenu chazdei Hashem. Think about it. V'yizbainenu, think, Hizbainenu is not just a little bit that it means that V'yizbainenu chazdei Hashem. V'yizbainenu chazdei Hashem. And how you made it through the week, which is the whole capital is about. Yizbainu Chazdei Hashem, to think about, to contemplate Chazdei Hashem. The Yitzhahara wants a person to think about Chesroinus. All the Yitzhaharas want you to think about Chesroinus. Like I told you once, that Rav Dessler, the great Mashgiach, Rabbi Dessler, Zeichet Tzat Levacha. So he was giving a shmuz to the guys, and he held up a big white piece of paper, and it had a black dot on the paper. And the Mashgiach asked the boys, "Chaver, what do you see?" And they all said a black dot. He said, "It's an interesting thing. It's a tiny, tiny little black dot on the page. The whole page is white. Every single one of you said that you see the black dot. It's a good story." And we would all say the same thing. It's a black dot. You don't see the whole thing is white. And Radassa said, that's the type of a person. You're surrounded by whiteness. You're surrounded by Tov, by Chesed. But if there's a black dot, that's what you see. You see the black dot. No. Zemash anywhere. The black dot. It's a very strong type of a person that he gives into that Yetzer to always notice the Chesroinus. To notice the Chesroinus. Catch yourself. You'll be in Shul. All the mitzvah will be in a few days. We'll be Shul Rosh Hashanah. And wherever you are davening, there'll be wonderful Jews and the most beautiful tefillas of the whole year on Rosh Hashanah, the most beautiful tefillas. And catch yourself. We'll see. Why is this guy standing in the aisle? It's an amazing thing. Here you're in this place of Loichal Kol Ha'olam Kulo B'chodecha. V'chein ten kavod Hashem Lamech. Like you're in the highest. There's nothing higher than Rosh Hashanah. Right? You're in this amazing world of Hashem taking you on a little spatzir, on a guided tour of the palace. It's Rosh Hashanah. If that guy has a running nose, you should really take care of it in the bathroom. Seriously. Can't you take care of that in the bathroom? He has to stand down over here slobbering with tissues and the whole world has to see this. And then when you look around, you see you're the only guy that's watching it. V'chahena, v'chahena.
I'm also watching this too. But.
Yeah. So there's always the black dot in the room. And so Rosh Hashanah, there's the black dot. The white canvas is tremendous, but the teva is the black dot. when I'm away, when I'm not here in shul, so I very, very much love being able to sit someplace in the back and to sit in the middle of the shul, in the back of the shul, wherever I am. But I will admit that I know that I do have the best seat in the place, and the reason I have the best seat in the place, not that I deserve it, I don't deserve anything, but it comes with the position. That's how it is. But I have the best spot because I'm staring at the wall. And it's very hard to find faults with the panel. And I also have the Isis of Hashem's name in front of me. What's bad about the Isis of Hashem's name? But I made sure that in the mountains when I'm there, I don't sit in the back. When we started, the place started, I went all the way to the side. It's very wide. It's not long, it's wide. I went all the way to the side, and I sat right by the wall or the window, just looking at the trees. Because it's so easy to get distracted by the black dot. It's the easiest thing to get distracted by the black dot. To be able to stay focused on the canvas, that's what Tesla was saying. And there's the canvas, the white canvas is Yizbanu Chazdei Hashem. Chazdei Hashem. The fact that you're able to go to shul, to be in shul. The people who are sick that they can't go to shul. The people that were there last year, now they're dead. Not here. So Yizbanu Chazdei Hashem. Back on top. ובכוח המחשבס האלו, ייכנס עוד ועוד לאמונה והאהבה ודבקות להשם יתברך. And these machshavas that you have, these thoughts, can take you deeper, deeper to that world of the neshama. Amuna, ahava, dveikus v'Hashem. And then you're in that, when you're in that place that where Hashem is, inside of you, that's a place of simcha. That's a happy place. That's a place of simcha. Remember that years ago we had discussed to spend a couple of months in Yerushalayim, and we lived in Chav Diskin, Shari Chesa. I don't know if you're familiar with the neighborhood. Some of you are. We lived in Chav Diskin, and that was a 3-minute walk to Breslov and to the Gra. I'm sure many of you know the area. So especially I davened every morning by Breslov. Mincha Marav oftentimes was with the Gra because the Zmanim are different and so on. But I davened by the Breslov Shtibel over there, which is a miraculous place if you've been there. It's a little bit of a taste of what it was like in the Beis HaMikdash, where it didn't work out with the measurements of how many people you were able to get into that room. It does not work out. Gershon and Shlomo, the guys, and Moshe, it's a miraculous little place. In my room at home, where I learned, when I was leaving there, so the guys gave me this picture to remember them. Not of them, of the shul, which I have on the wall. And so I had at that time one of my nieces was in seminary, and she was Bayas for Shabbos. And my wife said, "Come, Liba, we're gonna go with Moshe to the daven in Breslov." She had never been in such a thing in her life, and if the men's section is a miracle, the women's section it's Nisei Nisim, and so if you've been there, you've davened there, so the mashu, and when we were walking home. So my wife and myself and Liba says, "Wow, that's a happy place." Those were her words. And when she got married last year, so I reminded her, I was speaking at the Sheva Brachas, and I reminded her of that walk home Friday night from Berset, and I gave her a bracha that your house should be such a place, it should also be a happy place. She never saw such a thing. A happy place. No, it sounds a little corny, a happy place. But there's really only one place that's Be'etzim that's happy, and that's the Breslau, the Stiebel inside of you. There's a beautiful description written by the great Baal Machshav, Tzaddik, who was killed at Kiddush Hashem, Bill Zeitlin, where he describes when he went to daven in the Breslau for Beis HaMedrash. He himself was raised in Chabad. He describes what that was like. There's a place that's a place of simcha. This is a happy place. And Reb Mendel Fortefest was able to say that while he was sitting in a Soviet prisoner prison. He was able to say, this is a happy place. He's not talking about the place. The place is miserable. This is a happy place. And when you have a way to go to that place, then there's simcha in that place. And there's a simcha that no one can take away from you. Because it doesn't depend upon the weather, it doesn't depend upon who's the president, it doesn't depend on anything. It's a simcha pnimis. That's what he's saying. Look at footnote Reis Samach Zayin. When a person has ahava and dveikis, a bitla Hashem, in other words, when he has this connection, this relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, lo yelo shum atzvus. Lo yelo shum atzvus. There won't be any sadness. Lo mimasha kariyimo, not because of anything that happens to you. Lo me'anoshim shemachlishim esdaito, not from things that happen to you, and not from people that you would otherwise be very annoyed by and very upset about. Lo me'anoshim shemachlishim esdaito. It doesn't make you sad. Elahu rak samech b'Hashem esdaito. Merutza b'chol mashu manigaisa. Samech is simcha b'Hashem, and his merutza means that he's happy and satisfied with whatever Hashem brings his way. He's merutza b'chol mashu manigaisa. The way that Hashem is leading him and directing him in his life, that's the simcha that he has. That everything is HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Gimel. B'nei lefamim adam margish simcha b'shalva b'pnimiusa. Sometimes a person feels simcha, and shalva means a sense of tranquility, pnimiusa, because he has good positive thoughts. He's thinking the way that we've been talking about. He has good thoughts. But he realizes that he's thinking these good thoughts, but he doesn't necessarily feel joyous. He doesn't necessarily feel happy. He's thinking happy, but he's not feeling happy. So that's a tricky problem. A person should know that the ikar is the shorish, the root. And very often, the beginning, the root, is something like the root of a tree that you can't see. It's something which is ne'elam. You don't see the root. If the root is strong, if the root is healthy, then the tree will be okay. But you don't see the shorish, you don't see the root. Same thing when it comes to our midas. The midas elyonis of a person, the higher part of ourselves, keser, chachma, and bina, which are the roots of who we are, the deepest roots of who we are, that's what the Chazon Ish was talking about. The deepest part of who we are, we don't really see. It's more ne'elam. It's something which is much more hidden. Much more hidden. Chesed, the emotions, chesed, the emotions are something which are much easier to, they're more on the surface, they're more external. But the machshavas are the shirish, and the shirish is ne'elam, is hidden. So sarach ladash she'iku ha'shirish. V'harbe pamim ha'schaluhu b'ofen ne'elam. Therefore, very, very often, if you're trying to think, in other words, if you're trying to connect to that part of yourself that's called Chachma Bina Das, Chabad, you're trying to connect to that part of yourself, Chachma Bina Das, through machshavas, through good, strong machshavas. You're not feeling things? But the whole Tanya is written on this Yisod. Working on the machshavas, which is Chachma and Bina is Abba and Ima, right? It's Abba and Ima, Chachma and Bina. And when Chachma and Bina are together, so then there'll be children. And the children are Chesed, Gvur, Tiferes, Netzach. The emotions will follow. Might not be that particular time that they'll come, but the Ikar is that the Abba and Ima, that Chachma and Bina are together. And you're thinking. You're in that place. That's the shorish of who we are. The shorish that's Chachma and Bina. That's why it's so pathetic when we just wait for something to put us in a good mood. Because we're waiting for our emotions to be somehow uplifted. Or you're waiting for somebody to inspire you. You're waiting for something. The avodah of his bonus is to think, to contemplate, and to meditate, and to go into that place of Chachma and Bina, of Abba and Ima. That's the shorish hanelam. That's the hidden shorish of a person. and v'hi rak simcha pnimis. And that's the place of simcha. That's the happy place. Even though you think, well, what do you mean? I have a lot of negative thoughts. That's atzvus. That's the klipa. We're talking about going into a place be'emes, into the place of emunah and havas Hashem and dveikus b'Hashem. In those places, it's rak simcha pnimis. So the simcha pnimis means it's something which is deep, but still it's in the world of the shorosh, and it's hasn't necessarily yet grown. On the outside, the tree and the branches and the flowers and the fruits, it's still in a place of pnimius. You go to that place. V'ilu hasimcha mispashetes b'chol ha'evarim. What about the simcha that it should spread out to your emotions? The chesed gvur, those have babies. Chesed gvur tefes netzach yisai. It should spread out. That the tree should be a whole beautiful tree. Simcha amurgeshes b'ofen chai. To feel that simcha b'ofen chai with the chiyas. Tova achar. If you stay with it, then the branches and the flowers will come. The chesed, the gvur, tiferes, and so on. The emotions will come. L'chein tzarech l'chapes be'ikir es hashorish. Therefore, you don't wait for something to be in a good mood. You have to seek out the shorish, those machshavas, to think. Shunekudas hasimcha be'pnimius hamachshava. To go to the nekuda, that nekudas hasimcha, the nekuda of joy, which is the pnimius of one's machshava. And if you're able to, you're worthy. Lahargish simcha b'pnimius, simcha b'Hashem yisbarach b'amunavo. As afilim hu adayin margish atzuv, means that even though right now you might be feeling sad about something that happened, or something that's more chitzoniously, so you're feeling sad. So you have this. It seems to be this stira that I have these machshavas. I'm thinking about good things, but I'm feeling sad. As I feel him who adayin margish atzuv, ze beseder. That's okay. It's a beseder. Ka'afilu machshava daka min hadaka, because even if it's a machshava daka, even if it's a subtle thought, tispashet acharkach, if you stay with it, it'll spread, it'll grow. Ad shetilo shleimus hasimcha bezasha, until you have shleimus hasimcha. Lachein, therefore, osur levazois shum madrega ela laharich kol mashu. Therefore, you shouldn't poo-poo any even tiniest little bit of a machshava toiva, of a machshava elokus, even if it's a tiny little thing, thinking about Hashem. You shouldn't make like it's nothing. Ela laharich kol mashu, to appreciate and to value even a mashu. Ki ikar kedusha toli b'madregas harishanis hapnimis, because the ikar of a person's kedusha and simcha and everything that's good depends upon those madregas that come, that are connected to that shorish of who you are, and that shorish is very, very, it's a shorish an element, something which is very hidden. It's the roots of the tree. It's underneath the surface. It's totally madregas harishanis hapnimis, but everything comes from that shorish. Everything that the tree, some little flower 50 feet up that's growing, it's coming from the shorish. It doesn't come from the branch, it comes from the shorish. It means that any true simcha that a person can have, it comes from the shorish. It doesn't come from the branch, it doesn't come from, that was a great pastrami sandwich. And the idiots of the world attribute that simcha to the pastrami sandwich. It's the shorish is the shorish hanela. And that's where the simcha grows from. So, to the extent that you're able to come into contact even with a mashu of the shorish, a mashu, that's the pnimius. The acharkach means you've already broken through and gone beyond the external klipa of sadness. You've already gone to You've already gone to that place inside of you that's deeper yet. And even if it's only a little bit, and then afterwards it's able to be mispashet, it's able to spread the shahar madregas to the other madregas of the midas of chesed and good fresh and so on, all the other midas of ahav, all the different midas. It's able to move, it's able to grow, it's able to spread. The ikar is that avoda of trying to get past the klipa of asus and go into that even that little bit of, to go past that black dot and to go into the white canvas. And to think of that, what Rav Dasta gave as a muscle to think of that, and to go to that place. When a person goes to that place, not to worry that you're not feeling happy. I don't feel happy right now. The ikar is to go to the shorish anel, to that root, to that place, and to try to hold on to that, and it'll be mispashit, and it'll bring a person to Gewaldige Simcha.